Anonymous, a warning. Prepare to delve into AWarning, an eye-opening account of Donald Trump's chaotic presidency, penned by the enigmatic Anonymous. In this summary, discover the tumultuous effects of Trump's capricious leadership on government functioning and the efforts of experienced officials to control his impulsive actions. Uncover Trump's disconnection from the virtues necessary for greatness, and learn how his approach to diplomacy poses a threat to America's global standing. By journey's end, you'll have a comprehensive understanding of the consequences if Trump were to remain in power, and the importance of making the right choice at the ballot box in the upcoming election.
Chaos defines Trump's administration. On a cold December morning, President Donald Trump announces the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Syria in a tweet, catching millions of followers and Pentagon officials off guard. Despite having seasoned advisors and cabinet members to maintain a semblance of normalcy in his administration, Trump's impulsive decisions stir chaos and drive valuable personnel away. Even though policymakers diligently attempt to uphold order, Trump's erratic approach makes it arduous for them to carry out their duties effectively. When it comes to policy briefings, officials have to simplify complex details into one key point or an appealing image to engage Trump. However, Trump's engagement often results in impractical or illegal suggestions, such as arming teachers or detaining migrants at Guantanamo Bay. As more rational officials resign in frustration, only those supportive of Trump's worst tendencies remain, further contributing to destabilizing consequences. The true nature of Trump's character remains a mystery. Trump's leadership disconnected from virtues. Cicero, a Roman statesman, highlighted wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance as virtues essential for great leadership. Unfortunately, Donald Trump seemingly lacks these virtues, which has resulted in a presidency full of controversies and struggles. His inexperience, ignorance, bullying tendencies, reluctance to take responsibility, and poor temperament negatively impact his leadership and decision-making process. Cicero's fourfold virtues of an effective leader are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. When examining President Donald Trump's leadership, it becomes apparent that he lacks these essential virtues. Trump's lack of government experience prior to the presidency and his disinterest in learning genuinely expose his deficiency in wisdom. Even his advisors and aides acknowledge his limited knowledge, referring to him as an idiot behind the scenes. As for justice, instead of promoting fairness and equality, Trump uses his influence to behave like a bully. His track record of engaging in petty disputes with politicians, celebrities, and sports personalities reflects this behavior. Courage is another virtue Trump seems to lack. He avoids shouldering responsibility for his failures, such as not repealing Obamacare, and places blame on others. Temperance, the ability to exercise restraint, is perhaps Trump's most notable weakness. His derogatory comments towards women, addressing them as bimbos, dogs, sweetie, or honey, reveal his lack of moderation. These weaknesses were notably exhibited during the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally, where instead of disavowing violent extremists, he referred to them as very fine people. These shortcomings only represent a fraction of the examples where Trump's lack of leadership virtues have led to inadequate governance. By assessing the entirety of his presidency, it becomes increasingly clear how disconnected his leadership is from Cicero's virtues needed for great leaders. Trump's incoherent politics. President Trump is known for his ever-changing political stances, often contradicting himself and governing without any true principles. This wavering of ideas causes concerns amongst both his supporters and critics. As the leader of the United States and the representative of the Republican Party, Trump's confused politics extend to crucial elements like the size of the government, national defense, and economic policy, leading to instability not just within the party, but also in the nation as a whole. The saying, "there's a tweet for everything," has come to signify the capricious nature of Trump's political positions. If he has tweeted against something, it's highly likely that he has also endorsed it. For example, he once called the Electoral College a disaster for democracy, only to later tweet that it's actually genius. Such flip-flopping is a result of Trump's lack of concrete principles, often tending to favor convenience over steadfast convictions. Not surprisingly, he has changed political parties 5 times. Republicans find themselves in a constant struggle to remind their president which bills to back and which to contest. Yet, even with careful guidance, Trump frequently deviates from basic conservative fundamentals. In fact, Trump's inconsistency blatantly contradicts conservative values on major issues such as government size, national defense, and economic policy. Long-standing Republican ideology demands a smaller government with reduced federal spending and regulations. Under the Obama administration, Republicans diligently worked to decrease the budget deficit. Astonishingly, in contrast, Trump proposed a soaring, record-breaking budget in 2019, pushing the national debt to a whopping $22 trillion. Regarding national defense, Trump's erratic decisions do little to instill confidence. Ignoring GOP orthodoxy, he oscillates from proposing discussions with Iranian leaders to almost authorizing an airstrike that might have led to outright war. This unstable approach is not ideal for the commander-in-chief. Finally, when it comes to economic policy, Trump strays from conventional GOP positions advocating free trade. He ignited a trade war with China by imposing tariffs that could potentially trigger a recession. Such moves contradict the conservative principles he is expected to uphold as the leader of the party. Alarmingly, the absence of principles in a president can have disastrous consequences, threatening to undermine the very foundations of democracy. Trump's incoherent politics not only confound the Republican Party but also raise concerns about the future of the nation as a whole. Trump's tyrannical tendencies. After winning the 2016 election, Trump continued to be fixated on his political rival Hillary Clinton. His obsession highlights a concerning pattern. Trump seems to focus more on securing his power than preserving democracy. While the founders of the U.S. were wary of authoritarian rule, Trump views any institution or person standing in his way as part of a corrupt, deep state. His suspicion of the intelligence community and willingness to bend the law in his favor threaten to destabilize the democratic system. In the aftermath of his victory over Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election, Trump could have simply relished in his newfound power. However, he chose to fixate on his political opponent, going so far as to interrupt briefings with rants about her and expressing frustration with those he deemed not critical enough of Clinton. These outbursts underscore a frightening truth: the president has no issue using his position to attack perceived threats, seemingly wishing to rule more like a tyrant than a democratically elected leader. The founding fathers of the United States recognized the dangers of authoritarian rule, which is why they installed a system of checks and balances within the government. Yet Trump appears to view any person or institution that stands in his way as a corrupt element of the deep state. This term, which refers to institutions maintaining integrity throughout changing administrations, has been co-opted by Trump to malign anyone outside of his direct control. Examples of targets include bureaucrats enforcing ethics rules and agencies reporting unfavorable information. Trump's suspicions aren't limited to these so-called deep state entities. He's also been mistrustful of the intelligence community, encompassing the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, and National Security Agency, NSA. He has even gone as far as to ignore essential briefings from these institutions or openly criticize them, once calling them passive and naive. His disdain for the judiciary is arguably even more troubling. Trump has repeatedly berated court rulings he disagrees with as biased or disgraceful. In one case, he suggested dismantling the Ninth Circuit Court to guarantee rulings more favorable to him, brazenly proposing to get rid of the fucking judges. Ultimately, Trump's willingness to manipulate the law to shield himself is alarming. In 2019, reports emerged of him pressuring Ukraine to investigate Hunter Biden, former Vice President Joe Biden's son. These actions, which are not only underhanded but also illegal, pose a real threat to the stability of democracy itself. And, unfortunately, it seems Trump favors it that way. A tumultuous diplomatic approach. In 2018, during the G7 Economic Summit in Canada, President Trump notably departed from the traditional approach of using such meetings to strengthen international relations. Instead, he antagonized allies with disrespectful behavior such as arriving late, exchanging crude jokes, and insulting host Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. This flagrant disrespect towards diplomatic partnerships reflects Trump's preference for alienating traditional allies, while showing admiration for authoritarian leaders such as Rodrigo Duterte, Kim Jong-un, and most notably, Vladimir Putin. Trump's pursuit of total power and unpredictability in foreign relations endangers America's international standing, contradicting his America First promise. Trump's rhetoric, a threat to democracy. The way a president speaks carries significant weight and has the potential to shape the national discourse. An eloquent speech can inspire, while inflammatory rhetoric can divide. President Trump's preferred communication style leans towards the latter, favoring coarse language and insults over civil dialogue. This approach not only makes finding common ground increasingly difficult but also weakens the foundational tenets of democracy. Moreover, Trump's liberal approach to the truth, with numerous documented lies and misleading statements, further threatens the integrity of our nation's discourse. As a result, the increasingly negative political climate is tearing America apart. Presidential words have always held a special significance, as seen in Lincoln's Gettysburg Address or FDR's comforting fireside chats. Trump, however, has introduced phrases like fake news, nasty woman, and alternative facts into the public lexicon. His inflammatory communication style damages the nation and endangers democracy as we know it. Constructive and respectful dialogue is essential in politics for finding common ground and making compromises. But President Trump's language corrodes the civility needed to govern effectively. He resorts to insults instead of engaging with his opponents, labeling them with derogatory terms such as low testosterone or low IQ. For instance, during a bipartisan infrastructure bill negotiation with Senators Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, Trump undermined progress by launching into an unrelated heated tirade, thus derailing any hope of achievement. Moreover, Trump's relationship with the truth is worryingly lax. His countless lies and fabrications further polarize political debate. The Washington Post reported that he has made over 11,000 misleading statements since entering the White House. Trump's disregard for decorum and honesty is driving a wedge into American society. His rallies exhibit a mob mentality, with the president igniting anti-Clinton chants like "lock her up" and "send her back." This highly partisan environment is causing concern among citizens, as evidenced by a Pew Research Center survey indicating that 85% of Americans view political debate as increasingly negative and challenging. As Trump continues to inflame partisan fervor, America risks losing the fundamental essence of democratic function, the ability to communicate productively despite disagreements. Thus, Trump's rhetoric remains a significant threat to our democracy. The rise of Trump apologists. In 2016, Donald Trump was hardly the top choice for Republican leaders as he joined the primary race among 17 candidates. However, upon his surprising victory, a significant number of Republicans quickly shifted their stance, becoming Trump loyalists. These so-called apologists fall into two categories: sycophants who ardently defend Trump, believing he can do no wrong, and silent abettors who continue to work for him, prioritizing their quest for power over their personal values. As the Trump apologists grow in number and influence, those who challenge him face retribution. Ultimately, it is up to the American people to hold their leaders accountable and counteract Trump's negative influence. In what seemed like a twist of fate, Donald Trump emerged as the victor of the 2016 presidential election when even Republican leaders once considered him the least likely to succeed out of the 17 candidates running. The aftermath was marked by an intriguing change of heart among many Republicans. Once critical of Trump, they became his newfound proponents. Individuals like Senator Ted Cruz and South Carolina Representative Mick Mulvaney exemplify this shift in allegiance, adopting favorable views after initially denouncing Trump's character and candidacy. This development goes beyond mere embarrassment. it reflects a concerning trend of Republicans transforming into Trump apologists with minimal resistance to his influence. They face a choice: loyalty to their principles or loyalty to Trump, but not both. Who are these Trump apologists? Two categories emerge: the sycophants and the silent abettors. Sycophants are those who passionately support Trump, consistently defending him in the public eye even when his decisions are gravely flawed. Fortunately, this category of supporters is relatively rare. In contrast, the silent abettors are abundant. These individuals recognize Trump's disastrous nature yet still work for him to maintain their power. They will readily forsake their values in the pursuit of influence. Silent abettors frequently stand idle as Trump makes detrimental decisions, much like when he shut down the federal government to obtain funding for his Mexican border wall in 2018. A pervasive fear of jeopardizing their positions by criticizing the president prevails among them. Speaking out against Trump often comes at a cost, such as in the case of Steve Bannon, who suffered demotion after expressing dissenting opinions on policy decisions. With the growing number of Trump apologists and the repercussions they face, who remains to challenge the president? The responsibility now lies with the American populace. The power must be reclaimed by the people, standing up for truth and accountability, in order to diminish Trump's ominous influence on the nation. Reshaping America's political future. The fate of the Trump presidency is a matter of public concern, with some individuals even considering invoking the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. However, the most effective and democratic solution to address dissatisfaction with government leadership is through exercising the right to vote. The upcoming election in 2020 presents an opportunity for citizens to critically evaluate their values and beliefs, and choose the best candidate to lead the nation. In doing so, Americans will shape their political future and take responsibility for the outcomes. Many people eagerly await the end of Trump's tenure, with some White House insiders considering invoking a lesser-known provision of the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. This constitutional power allows cabinet officials to oust a president they deem unfit for duty, potentially leaving Vice President Pence in charge. Despite whispers and informal discussions among senior White House officials, this approach is ultimately considered too risky due to its disruptive nature and the uncertainty of Trump leaving office peacefully. Instead, the most effective and responsible way to address dissatisfaction with the Trump presidency is by voting him out of office. American democracy has an established system for replacing unwanted leaders: elections. As citizens, it's crucial to engage with the democratic process and make our voices heard at the ballot box. The 2020 election presents an opportunity for self-reflection and careful evaluation. Voters should ask themselves if Trump truly embodies their values, whether his temperament is suitable for the highest office, and if the nation can endure another 4 years of his unpredictable rule. It's vital for Republicans, in particular, to consider their responsibility in choosing between Trump and a Democratic candidate. They can still support other respectable Republican candidates while casting their vote against Trump. Ultimately, the outcome of the next election will shape America's future, bringing disorder or harmony depending on the choices made. Remember, the decisions we make at the ballot box will forge our political landscape and bear the consequences of our actions. So choose wisely.
As we reach the end of this startling exposé of the Trump administration, we're left with a piercing image of a presidency led by impulsiveness and an utter lack of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. We've witnessed the struggle of experienced officials trying to maintain a semblance of order and restraint amidst the turmoil caused by a volatile and unpredictable president. Foreign diplomacy has become fragmented, and Americans face an uncertain future unless the right choices are made at the ballot box. Ultimately, the power to change the course of the United States lies in the hands of its citizens. The country's fate hangs in the balance, so make your vote count.